All right, welcome to the relationship show. This woman writes this post: introvert in a relationship, feeling not heard by my partner. Whenever I see like an objection on not being heard or not being listened to or not being understood, it is almost always the case that it is a woman writing it. And it's just because it's like, go back to the three U's of femininity, and being understood is one of the most important things you can make a woman feel. It's being understood. She doesn't want to feel unsafe, and then she doesn't want to feel unseen. She wants to be noticed. But, so that's why it's so important to ask a woman questions and get her to talk and open up. Because if she can open up, it's like that's what she naturally does. I mean, women talk about 4 times as much as guys per day. And so it's like when she naturally can just feel comfortable opening up to you and expressing like with her words, like what she's feeling, that really makes her feel heard, listened to. And then especially when the guy can, remember the things that she says and things along those lines, and gives her full attention and keeps asking more in-depth questions on getting her to talk more and keep expressing her feelings, and he can feel, what she's feeling in that moment. That really helps with making her feel understood. So I'll skip over a couple of these relationships she's got. She just says basically she's an introvert, and then in her past relationships, she reverts back to her introverted side more. So she struggles with communicating, and in her past relationships, she struggled with being the one who really opens up and talks. She says, in my third relationship, she says, I'm 28. Boyfriend is 33. Because he was more introverted than my past 2 exes, we connected more and bantered more initially. But now that we've been dating for nearly a year now and we've gotten comfortable, I'm back to being the listener now. And so, as people, we get back to what we really feel comfortable in. And if you feel like your comfortable place is being an introvert and not expressing yourself and kind of protecting yourself in that regard, it's like, if that's your way of protecting yourself, well, if there's any instance of you feeling like you're unsafe or anything where you feel like you're uncomfortable, well, you're going to get back to that protection place of just closing off and not really expressing yourself. And then what you'll actually find is that when you, even though it seems like, you're giving to the guy by letting him talk more, when women are closed off to guys and they can't get the woman to talk, it almost feels like the guy isn't really succeeding in the relationship. That's what it feels like from a guy's perspective when the woman can't really open up. And so it's like, I talked about the 3 U's of femininity, but also there's the 3 C's of masculinity, the 3 biggest really pain points with men. And one of those is being when their woman is closed off to them. It's like when they can't open her up in her feelings, get her to talk through her feelings, and basically she just like stonewalls or shuts down. It just makes the guy feel like he is a failure. And the other 2, I'll just say, are being controlled and being criticized. So just be careful on that if you are a woman trying to, and if you basically confront him about something, and be careful about your criticisms and trying to control him. So just use tact the best you can if you're trying to communicate this, or say it's because of you entirely. It's like this in me that I'm feeling. I know that's not true because I know who you are, but it's like I just want to fix this in me and just get to understand this in me, because it's like I'm just going through this problem. I know it's not true, but it's just like I need your help in order to find this truth within myself. And you don't put it against the other person. So that would be like a woman expressing, or a way to communicate to like a man, and not trying to control him or trying to criticize what he's doing. It's like, oh, you did this, so that's wrong, and you can't do that ever again, and you have to do it this way. So it's like a contrast there. It's like, if you do that, he's going to have a ton of resentment towards you. It's going to really piss him off, and it's going to cause more problems in the relationship. But just recognize that I know you want to like give to this relationship, and I know that you think that like if he's talking, it's like you're letting him talk and you're being the one who gives, but really you're giving something that in the long term probably won't be received in the best way. So meaning like if he's the one who's talking all the time, you're the one who's closed off. And it's like it violates that principle of being closed when women are close to their men. But now we've been dating for nearly a year now, and we've gotten comfortable and back in being to listener now. He doesn't seem to really ask me questions beyond the "How are you going?" I think it's supposed to be doing questions. For example, today I was saying I went back to my parents' place and felt a bit weird and sad because I read some journals and cards. So total hint at for the guy to capitalize and ask her questions and get her to go deep and get her to talk through her emotions and her problems and what she's feeling right there. But the guy, he probably isn't very experienced. And it's like most people aren't. Most people don't know these concepts and know that this is really how men and women communicate. And so the guy doesn't really know to get her to talk, or then doesn't know to get her to ask questions or whatever. So it's like he might just be talking much more than her because he feels uncomfortable with her. There's like awkward situations where that's just like the pattern they've been going through. But even though they might realize or feel like it's not really clicking right now as far as like attraction, or they don't feel that great, it's like, yeah, we just kind of do the same thing, it's okay. Versus like having an incredible relationship. Maybe they've never even experienced an incredible relationship. But the unfortunate thing is most people don't know how to really pinpoint what the cause is for a drop in attraction. And so they don't act in accordance like this. Like this right here is a missed opportunity. It's like if she hints at her feelings or hints at something that made her sad, like you need to stop. From a guy's perspective, the guy needs to stop completely, give her his full attention and ask her questions in order for her to speak and talk through her emotions, because that's how women solve problems. Do not butt in and try to solve her problems or fix her problems or provide a solution. Only do that if you're asked. And even if you're asked to give her a solution, it's like, are you sure you just don't want me to listen? Don't commit to giving that solution, because it will basically, in her eyes, it will make her, she just doesn't communicate like that. So it almost like dismiss her feeling and what she's feeling and the validity of what she's feeling in that moment. And that's what she wants to express, what she's feeling. She doesn't want a solution. I mentioned it was about my family, exes, and friends. Instead of asking why I'm feeling that way, what was in all my journals, what made me sad, etc. So she knows she wants to do that. So like, but she didn't get an opportunity. He just brushed it off. There you go. She didn't feel understood at all right there. She didn't feel heard, listened to. By saying it's normal to feel nostalgic. He says, oh, that's normal. And then, well, what do you do? Solved it. He's like, well, that's just one of these situations. Then he moved on to doing whatever he was doing. He didn't stop. He didn't give her his presence. He didn't let her open up, because that's what you want to do. You don't need to let her just open up to you. And that's what she wants. This happened a few times before. Yeah, the guy just doesn't know. I mean, he just doesn't know that women communicate and need to communicate this way. Where I don't finish my story, but I already feel like he's not interested. It's like from his perspective, he probably doesn't even register that. It's like he actually does care about you or whatever, but that's just how he solves problems. That's how guys solve problems. Is like they get to the solution very quickly. Meaning like, if there's a problem, okay, here's a solution, and then just go. And that's really how they communicate with other guys as well. So it's like, if he communicates with other guys as well like that, and then he'll think that those solutions will just translate over to a relationship, but it's not the case. For me, I'd love to know the details, understand how you think and feel, and see what I can do to help. And so I think she's bringing that up because she's not getting that. And she's like, well, this is how I want to feel, and this is how I really express him, and I'm going to try to get the details from him and try to hint at him. There we go. So it's like she's trying to give what she wants. Meaning, so she's trying to go in depth when he says something like, oh, this, like if the roles were reversed, if he says, oh, I was sad because of this letter I got or whatever. And then she goes and solves it the way that it would be solved in her. Because that's how she solves problems. And then on the other perspective, it's like he goes and solves problems or communicates with her how he would communicate. And there's that basically conflict in basically just men and women. And if you don't understand that little difference in how men and women communicate, then it can cause a lot of problems. And communication is one of the biggest things that you can have in a relationship. I don't feel like he listens to me or values my opinion as much anymore. I just feel self-conscious that I'm not interesting enough for him because he doesn't seem to be listening. It feels like these days I'm asking questions to fill in the gaps. When I don't ask questions, he doesn't ask questions. There's that reciprocating thing. And we don't talk as much. I try to talk about myself more, but it feels almost forced because he doesn't seem to be listening once again. Yeah. And so it's difficult. It's difficult when you're in a relationship and then you don't fully understand how to communicate with, like, if she, in her perspective, she doesn't fully know how to communicate with men, or at least she doesn't have like the tools or knowledge or whatever. And then on the opposite side, it's like he doesn't have the communication or the skills to really, or at least the awareness that women communicate in a different way. And so it's like, if I were to sit down with these people, I would go through these things and let them come to the answers themselves, because in her post there, it's like she gives you how she wants to be listened to. It's like how she wants to be understood. She mentioned that she wanted him to stop what he's doing basically, and then just ask her questions in deep and get her to talk more. And so it's like what you'll realize by just observing people is they'll tell you what they really need. And it's like if you look closely enough and know what to look for, you won't just bypass what you think they need, and you actually look at the other person, and they will tell you specifically what they need. And so it's like if I was to sit down with them, I would bring these things up, and then she would say this, and it's like, this is what I need, and then the guy would say, well, this is really what I need. And from his perspective, it's probably for her to even talk more, but he just doesn't know how to do it. And so that right there, it's an example of how important communication is in a relationship, making her feel understood, and then also the importance of, on his end as well, it's like having your woman open up to you and feeling like she can express herself fully. Because if you can do that, he feels successful, or he feels good about him succeeding in the relationship. And so it's just a common thing that you'll see, because it's like the awareness isn't there and people don't know how men and women communicate.